Hello and welcome to the Friday, March 28th, 2025 edition of the SANS Internet Storm Center's Stormcast. My name is Johannes Ulrich and today I'm recording from Jacksonville, Florida. Well, the last couple of days I spent a little bit of time on creating a couple new reports for the Internet Storm Center website. One of them summarizes HTTP headers. And the reason I started looking more at HTTP headers was, of course, next.js and the header-related vulnerability. We collected the headers from our honeypots, but didn't really routinely look at them. And with these new reports, actually, I immediately spotted one interesting header here, and that's the thumbnailaccesstoken header. Only a couple of requests this last month with this particular header being set. Well, a little bit research then showed that this actually attempts to exploit a vulnerability in Sitecore. Sitecore is a CMS and it uses this header for access control. The problem, however, is that the content of the header, the value is actually a .NET object. And then it uses the binary formatter class to actually extract data from this object, and that class is most famously known for being, subject to deserialization vulnerabilities, and that's exactly what's happening here. There was a couple weeks ago a blog post by Searchlight Cyber. They initially discovered the vulnerability. The vulnerability was actually patched back in January, as far as I can tell, but not a lot of details were released by Sitecore at the time. Now, with the blog from Searchlight Cyber, we do have a proof of concept exploit. The one problem from our data is that we are only recording the first 250 characters of header values, but those characters are exactly matching the proof of concept exploit that was released by Searchlight Cyber. So very likely that's the point of it here. If you decode it, you also see some of that PowerShell stuff and such happening. Just not exactly sure what the attacker is trying to do here yet, but about to fix this problem, and we're going to collect more of the header. Just needs a little bit reworking of our back end. I'll be working more on these header related reports, and tomorrow more of them should move live. Let me know if you like them. Let me know if you have any other ideas, how to slice and dice the data and how to get more value out of it. And Iron Beer with the Google project Zero published a real nice detailed blog post on the BLASTPASS exploit by NSO. NSO Group, of course, was famous for their iOS, Android, zero-day and zero-click exploits. One of them, was BLASTPASS, and the target here was the Webp image format. Webp is a quite common, a little bit more modern image format, and as the blog post explains, it can be lossless. It can also be lossy, so you have different options here as far as compression goes. And of course, whenever you are compressing, memory management becomes really tricky and interesting, and that's exactly what this blog post is all about. What went wrong in this particular case? Now, the exploit itself is by internet standards pretty old. September 2023 is when it was patched, but the underlying problems about how to properly deal with these compressed formats, I think, is still valid, and we're still seeing similar vulnerabilities in other software. So definitely, if you're into exploit development, or if you are into finding these kind of vulnerabilities in software, very good read. And we got about a dozen of vulnerabilities being patched in Splunk. Nothing critical. Luckily, among those vulnerabilities, there is one arbitrary code execution vulnerability. However, it does require valid login credentials. So nothing here, as far as I can tell, where someone could essentially just send you some packets, some attack, and the logs as they're being parsed or so are exploiting Splunk. That's not the case here. upgrade, definitely, make sure you're patched. This is a critical part of your security infrastructure, likely, but again, nothing critical here. And as far as critical vulnerabilities go, well, we have one from Mozilla for Firefox, only a sandbox escape, but a vulnerability that's already being exploited in the wild. Well, update it or let Firefox do its self-update in order to be patched. This only affects Windows. Well, that's it for today. Sorry for the editing issue in yesterday's podcast. Depending on when you downloaded it, you may have received a podcast that had the NPM session multiple times. Well, thanks also to those who alerted me, so I was able to fix it early this morning, but probably about half of you or so may have received the old version. Sometimes podcast apps don't necessarily update to the latest file, and typically if you go to the website, that's sort of, if that ever happens, where you sort of get the latest file if you just stream it from the website. Well, that's it for today. Thanks for listening, and talk to you again on Monday. Bye.